Welcome into a brand new edition of Hockey and Hounds here on the Flyers Podcast Network. I'm Brian Smith in this week for Jason Myrtetus with head coach John Tortorella, and I guess we'll start by sending our best to Jason, starting his cancer treatments today as we record this. So,
as we speak today.
So he's fighting this and staying ahead of it. So
he'll fight it.
Yep.
He's got some jam to him, that's for sure.
Our best to him. Strange spot in the schedule here, right? Islanders, Devils, Islanders, Rangers, Islanders, Devils. Hard to keep it straight a little bit here.
We'll just stay here.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Just operate out of here. I know you're not a standings guy, but this is a pretty big 2 weeks here in terms of how things are going to go in the long run.
Yeah,
here.
I mean, in the East, it's just so muddled. In the Metro, a couple of good games, you're flying. A couple of bad games, you're nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
But again, Smitty, we just got to take it one game at a time and just try to be the best we can be.
I feel like we're always talking about Noah Cates these days, and everybody sees what he does on the ice and has seen what he's done on the ice here the last month or two. But I feel like where we see him, when we interact with him, see him in the locker room, he seems to be carrying a confidence that we didn't necessarily see before. He's never going to be a rah-rah guy. I was curious if you see that now in your behind-the-scenes things, your meetings, you run into him in the hallway. Do you see a difference there?
Yeah, I just think with Catesy, he wants to help. Mm-hmm. He wants to be part of the solution and have this team grow. Remember, this is his third year.
Yeah.
And leaned on him quite a bit the first year. A lot of changes were made, subtractions were made. And he's been through it all with us here and has kind of taken a different role. It's a role, you and I've talked about it for 3 years now, as far as hoping some offense comes from him and hoping he feels he can do it. I think that's the greatest path. If a player is going to be what he wants to be, there's got to be a belief. Doesn't matter what you and I think or teammates, it's him. And I do. I think he carries himself. And he's so humble. I don't think you'll ever see arrogance, but I think he feels good about what he's doing for the team. Mm-hmm. And in all facets, not just the goals now that he's scoring, but just all the situations he's being put in. And part of the foundation we're trying to build here.
He was a captain in college, and college is a different animal just in terms of the environment that the guys are in. You got young guys trying to find their way just through life. And I'm sure he had that experience. Are we seeing a little bit of that now as he kind of grows in this role, that he can kind of help maybe run things the way he did that?
Yeah, I think we got such great athletes in our league.
Yeah.
When you're not wearing a letter and you have a captain, a couple alta captains like we do have now, I think there's a respect for that, the respect of the hierarchy of it. But it doesn't stop certain people from adding to that. And I think he's a really good piece to that, as far as not so much talking and being that guy. I very rarely hear him speak. But I think he feels he can add to the leadership of this group by just what he's doing on the ice and all the situations that he's succeeding in. And it's a nice process that you've seen this kid grow. And when we're projected in a couple of years, hopefully we're going to be pushing to do some really special things. He's right there in there as far as being the foundation slab of what we're going to try to do.
Let's look at Joel Farabee for a moment. He sits for a few games, comes back, has a really good bounce-back game against the Islanders. I'm sure you didn't expect any less from him. But take us through how you saw him in that process, not just the bounce-back game, but how he handled the time that he was out of the line.
Yeah, we had a very candid conversation when I did take him out, and there wasn't a lot of argument from him. One of the questions I asked him, I said, "How can I help you?" And he was pretty honest. He said, "I got to help myself." And obviously, players want more ice time. They feel that's how they help. But sometimes I just can't give it to them because I've got 19 other guys in that particular game that I've got to worry about divvying it to. So he was good. He even for a guy, he's a young guy that's played a lot in this league. He understands it. He knows what it is to be a pro. Even sometimes for them, it's good just to get away from it and reset themselves with having to worry about a game and preparing for a game, just to work out on the ice, get the extra work. Came in, played 12, 13 minutes. Wasn't a ton of minutes for him, but made some good plays. Had a breakaway. That's what I think is going to be a big thing for him, is just for him to score a couple of goals.
Right. Yeah.
Just to help confidence. We talk about Catesy. It's kind of worked against Beezer that way, and where he's done some really good things, it just hasn't translated. That's when I thought he lost his game a little bit, and that's why he was taken out. Came back in, had a couple of big plays, stepped up when Pales went down. I thought he was part of the group trying to fight for Pales, and so he had a good first game back.
You talked about being noticeable, being an impact player, and that kind of leads to the offense, doesn't it? If you get out there and you're doing those things that make you noticeable, then next thing you know, the goals come.
Yeah, when you're always thinking about a goal and you want to score a goal, you kind of forget about the things you have to do to get there. And it may sound weird, but when you're not scoring, don't think about it. Right. Do the other things, and it'll come your way. And so I'm glad he had a couple of points. Coots' goal was a big goal for us, tying the game up there. He was part of that, him and Mich. So he'll play again, and hopefully he'll build off it.
We've talked, you see a guy like Noah Cates come in and you go, oh, wow, look what he's doing. And we've seen that with some other guys too. But Travis Konecny, it feels like you don't say wow. You look at him and he's doing his thing. And now, as of the day we're recording this, all of a sudden he's in the top 10 in the league in scoring. He's just kind of crept in there. Is it say something about his game that we're not surprised that it's almost kind of the day-to-day thing for him now?
He's just so noticeable every time he's on the ice. We talk about being noticed during a game. It's every shift. And quite honestly, some of those shifts he's noticed for some things I don't know what the hell he's doing. But that's the key for TK. We need to allow him to go through some of those ups and downs in the game because he's such a reactive player. And I think that's helped his game. He's a really good player. The part for me that him and TK and I talk a lot about is now the leadership, right? Being a leader on the team. I don't think he's ever been asked to do that. He's been asked to do it now. I think he goes up and down, as far as understanding some of the responsibility that comes with that within the game. Sometimes he gets crazy when we need some patience, and he needs to lead the way that way with some patience. He's learning that part of it. That's the step I think that needs to be taken with him for him not to. He's a very good player, really good player. To be a great player, that's what I like to see for him to add. And those are constant conversations he and I have.
Right. I guess that's just the natural progression for a lot of NHL guys. I guess the guys that stick around for a while, Scott Lawton being one of them. I mean, he came in and, for years, probably a guy just kind of absorbing things, taking things in. And then, there's a bit of a turnover here around the pandemic time, and all of a sudden, bang, you're the leader, and you just have to step into that.
Yeah, and I think it's been one of the important parts of this process in rebuilding is once some other players were moved out, it allows people like TK to step in because our players throughout the league are so respectful, like I just said, of the hierarchy, of the captaincy and all that. Sometimes when there are players that are the voice of the team, that just, and I was very honest about that. I think we needed to move by some people to allow some other things grow. If there's one thing that's happened, this has grown. Yeah. TK has grown. He's never been asked to kill a penalty prior. He's never been asked to give some responsibility as far as being one of the leaders that some of the young kids can go to. So it's subtracting and making room for other people to grow is a very important part of this rebuild.
And we've talked about that, I think, with Travis Sanheim, too, and it's certainly nothing against Ivan Provorov, but
not at all.
He's not the player he is today without being able to grow into that role that was vacant.
Not at all. And I make sure, I always say that Hazy, I love Hazy, Kevin Hayes and Provy and all that, JVR. But in the time that we felt where we needed to do, and we got right in front of it as far as rebuilding this, things had to be subtracted. And I think in this situation, it's a very important one because I think he feels more comfortable in stepping into that role. Yeah.
Looking at the power play shift into that, a lot of people look at that percentage, that number, number of goals versus number of opportunities, and they kind of make a judgment on that. But, despite whatever that number says, this has looked a lot better, hasn't it, over the last 10 days, 3 weeks or so, because you're getting into the zone. They're getting time in the zone. Yeah. It's not one and out, anything like that. And that's kind of what you were talking about earlier is, you may not score a goal, but at least get some momentum.
Momentum, yeah. And I do. I think it's I think it's played better. It's a tough question for me today because at the beginning of the third period, we had a bunch of nut jobs out there in the power play. I mean, we give up 2 scoring. We take, first of all, Tyson turns on over, bang, it's in our net, which is probably one of the dumbest plays I've seen all year in that turnover. Then our power play allows scoring chances all over the place. So let's get that out. Once I move by that one, I think it's been I think it's been close. We've scored some goals and even closer in scoring some other goals along the way here. I think Jamie's played better on it. One of my biggest, I guess, gripes with Jamie is him seeing the ice and running the power play from the top. I think he's gotten better. Certainly not perfect, but the more reps he gets, and this is something we have to evaluate with Jamie, is can he do it? Right. I still don't have the answer. I can't say yes, and I'm certainly not going to say no. So this, I think it's been better. I think we have gained momentum off it. And prior to, we've scored like 3 or 4 goals the past few games here, and has helped us in some wins. And hopefully it'll just continue to grow. Tip has felt better on it too, I think.
You've talked about that too with some guys like Jamie and even the goaltending that ideally he would have had a full year or 2 in the American Hockey League running that power play before he came here. Injuries and stuff that didn't happen, so there is a little bit of probably growing pains here at the NHL level.
Absolutely, I prefaced my comment that I'm not criticizing anybody that coached Jamie before. But that American League is such a good league, especially for defensemen. It's such a good league, such a good training ground, because it's such a hard position to play here in the National Hockey League. I wish he had that. We're living through some of the pains of that, really trying to develop him right in a National Hockey League schedule. And but we go about it and keep on banging away at it.
That's an interesting thing about defensemen, too, because, I mean, again, we're playing Toronto, and they have a guy, Phil Myers, who was here, and I'm watching that Toronto game, and he's unrecognizable from when he was here. It's just that position that it takes. It's a little bit of time for some guys.
Yeah, and it takes, and it's a position you got to be really careful not to give up on the guy too early, because you just never know individually when they start maturing. It's the most difficult. Goaltending is the most important. Defense is the most difficult one to play because there's so many things coming at you in a 60-minute game. So you got to be really careful. And you have some bad days with defensemen, have some good days. You can't get too high with them as a coach. You can't get too low with them as a coach, too, as you're teaching.
Let's get to our dogs here. It's a puppy week, and this is a big little bit of an initiative here. We had a visit to the locker room with some puppies from the PSPCA that they believe are Great Pyrenees mixed puppies. These guys were found in a box just before the holidays in a park in Lower Merion, about 4 weeks old, not doing very well, kind of dirty, needed some medical treatment, needed some baths. They fell into the right hands, thankfully. Yes. And you don't know what the circumstances were for those 4 weeks before, but you're just thankful that they got to the right place. And we had a chance to bring them out to the locker room. You were here for this, but we got a little bit of a video here to look at it. And these guys are named after players. We have 9 puppies named after 9 players.
They're going to be big.
They got to see their namesakes. But yeah, these guys are going to be some big dogs. Huh?
They peed all over the place, too, in that locker room.
You see the towels there. Yeah.
But it didn't matter.
No.
It didn't matter. As Huggy, who runs the building, let us know. But as far as I'm concerned, they could have peed all day long there because this was such a great event. It's so great to see the players involved in it. And just the short note you talked about, Smitty, where they were found and how they were, man, this is great. This is what we love about our players. And it's not just our team within the National Hockey League. Look at them, how they have some compassion, and their platform is going to help these dogs find a home.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful for our guys. I'm grateful for the organization and the rescue groups out all through Philly and trying to help out this.
So these dogs are still kind of growing a little bit. They're going to be available for adoption soon, but we don't have the actual. We should be getting them soon in terms of getting them on websites and stuff. But the PSPCA is the ones that's got them. You can inquire with them for more information. PSPCA.org, and like you said, they're going to be big dogs. So that might be the only challenge we have with these guys is that we want to find them homes that are ready for a big dog in about 6 months or so.
Yeah, and they are all of them are fostered, Smitty,
yes.
right now? Yeah.
Yep, they're all in foster homes. And I think the other thing, too, is that most of them, I'm pretty sure all of them are together with at least one other puppy in a foster home.
That's
so
great.
PhiladelphiaFlyers.com/hockey and hounds. We're going to have these dogs, by the way, at the game against the New Jersey Devils on Monday, the 27th, I think it is, on the 27th. So you can come out and see them and, again, kind of get to know the breed a little bit. But if you think it might be a good fit, we'll get you with the right people. Also, Max has been adopted.
Fantastic.
Max was a neglect situation and had been looking for a home for a long time, more than 2 years. But he found a spot, so he's in good hands now.
Our audience finds a way to get it done, right?
Yep.
And, that over 2 years.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yep. So Max is good, and I got a note here I wanted to pass along to you. We heard from Coffee Cakes owners.
Oh my God!
Coffee Cakes Gotcha Day was a year ago recently. I'm not sure exactly when, but sometime in the last couple of weeks. And her owner checked in and wanted to bring us up to speed. This past year has been a wonderful journey filled with laughters, challenges, cuddles, and countless kisses, all wrapped in love. Coffee's personality has flourished, become a playful diva, always expressing her desires, demanding affection like a superstar. And everything is going great, it seems, with Coffee Cakes.
That gives me goosebumps. Yep. That's fantastic.
I will get you a color copy of that.
Yes.
That's all we had today. But great news on Coffee Cake. And
the emotional highs and lows of animal welfare.
I was saving that in case you walked in here after watching that third period yesterday.
This made my day. Finding out about Max and this here made my day. I haven't watched the tape yet, so I'll keep these in my back pocket.
Just put that right next to the computer when you're watching that tape. So, Torch, thanks for jumping in here with us. And again, we're looking forward to having Jason back next week. And we'll get going on some more here leading up to the break.
Best to Jason, and thank you to all the people that are helping these animals. This is just great stuff.